Namaste, Sandeep ji.
Namaskar.
How are you?
Very well, very well. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you so much. And thank you so much for being here on this podcast today. I have been really following, you on different channels and listening to you about, what you talk about Hatha Yoga and the way you kind of talk about it from the holistic perspective, not just about the asana perspective. So was really keen on having you on this podcast, Yogna the Ageless, where I generally try bringing in the experts who talk about the Eastern modalities, from the say yoga modality or traditional Chinese medicine or Ayurveda. So the whole idea is with this podcast, I really want to bring in that awareness that there is so much about health and wellness, which is so much deep rooted and which is so much beyond science. And all these ancient sciences have already spoken about all these, modalities.
Uh,
So Sandeepji, I'll just quickly first introduce you and we can start our session from there. So, Sandeepji is a yogi from Bihar School of Yoga. He is also the head of yoga at Ananda in the Himalayas, which is the, India's top luxury retreat, which is also very, known about its authentic approach to yoga and Ayurveda lifestyle, staying in the resort. So, Sandeepji, thank you so much for being there. And let's first start with,
yes.
your own journey into yoga. How did yoga find you?
So, uh, I would say that as a child, I was never interested in yoga. Many people say that as a child they were into yoga, but not for me.
Mhm.
But it happened very later in life when you start looking for some solutions, some directions in life, when you are stuck in life somewhere or the other.
Yeah.
So that's where I started looking for some solutions. So one of the factors I feel has been very important in this journey is I was actually suffering from my alopecia, like hair loss in a very younger age. And I tried many things, modern medicine, homeopathy, alternative medicines, many things I tried, but it didn't really help me. And it was when I was in class 9 or 10, I think, because it was a very teenage age
Oh,
that time.
that was
And
too early. Yeah.
too early, and then when I went to college also I was with that problem. So you can imagine at that age my all my complexes were developed, I feel, because I became very full of like a complex that, oh, I'm losing my hairs and I want a solution. So I
Yeah.
think that was one of the reason which led me to find solution, and then went to yoga. But another very important, powerful impact that I had on yoga was as a child. One of my aunt used to be a disciple of Bihar School of Yoga, Swami, and
Okay.
we never connected. But I saw her being connected to yoga. So during our summer holidays, we used to have a teacher from the ashram, and it was like a playful activity, nothing serious. Like as a child, you just play around and make fun of yoga, and like that's how it started.
Mhm.
But nothing serious, I would remember.
I guess yoga for most of the people starts like that only.
Yeah, so I can recollect many memories. Like, we used to be like in the class, we used to do some asanas, which was funny, like making sounds and all. It was very fun kind of activity, not nothing serious. And I also remember uh, breaking a mirror glass during a yoga class. Like, I was trying to jump on the basin and the
Mhm.
mirror glass broke. So I have those memories. But then the real connection, I would say, happened when I attended a talk by Swami Niranjanananda uh, when I was just finishing my college, and I was looking for my career and all these things. So that is where I heard his talk, and that was a very, very strong impact that I was carrying throughout the next few days. And it was so powerful, so strong that uh, it really changed my whole perspective. And then I went to the ashram for to meet him, and I thought that I will meet him for a day or two and get all the knowledge. But he said, no,
Mhm.
you stay here for 2 weeks. I was not even carrying my clothes. So, but then those 2 weeks were amazing for me. I would say the whole energy level changed, my whole thought process, my perspectives, and people at my home was they were feeling that yes, there is some changes in you, and that was the seed that was planted in me. But then life takes you to different directions, marriage, career, work, business,
Yeah.
all that happened. But then it finds you. Like I think in 2001, I started getting more involved, and then finally it happened in 2003 that I went for the yoga course. It was a 2 years postgraduate in yoga psychology.
Wow.
It was a residential course, and it was a tough decision, big decision for me, and a life-changing decision. But I did not want to become a teacher. I just wanted to learn and to understand and to like just experience it. So it was not being a teacher. So after that 2 years, started what to do. Then started teaching in certain yoga centers around Rajasthan, Chhattisgarh, all around. That's how found Ananda found me once. So I landed in
Nice.
Rishikesh,
Nice. So,
and that
like
has
your entire life has been dedicated to yoga. I mean, starting from quite early and then gradually,
not
different
really,
phases
not
learning.
really, not really. Last 20 years, I would say yes, seriously into yoga and
Mhm.
uh, trying to learn, try to understand, try to experience. So not before that, I would say. So
So,
50-50, I would say.
yeah, no, but I mean, the kind of knowledge that you impart is phenomenal, I must say. So, again, my next question is around that only, like being from the lineage of Bihar School of Yoga, how has traditional Hatha Yoga personally impacted you, like probably at physical level or relationship levels or, daily life level? How has yoga actually been a part of your life?
So if you talk about Hatha Yoga and Bihar School of Yoga, these are two different topics actually, I would say. I mean, if you talk about Hatha Yoga, Bihar School of Yoga is not Hatha Yoga only. It's much more
Best system,
beyond.
yeah.
Uh, I mean, there are so many confusions about what is Hatha Yoga, and there are so many different styles and names of yoga that it's too confusing now in the modern
Exactly.
world. But I would say that uh, Bihar School of Yoga was more of an integrated approach. It was more integration of different branches of yoga, which can be Hatha Yoga as being the primary branch of yoga, where there are so many modalities in Hatha Yoga, like the Shatkarmas, the asanas, the pranayamas, the mudras, the bandhas. So they form the Hatha Yoga, like just to prepare the body, to give a foundation and to detox and to prepare the body. But then that's not the only objective. Then you move into the other elements of yoga, the mind, the emotions, the spiritual side. So I would say that many people consider the physicality of yoga as only the yoga part, but no, it's not true. There are many elements, and in the Bihar school system, it's more of a integrated approach where and a lot of other branches of yoga are involved. Mostly, it's about the whole personality that you are dealing with. It's not just the body, because I mean we are not just the body. I mean we are not just the mind also, but we
Exactly.
identify
But I
with the
guess,
body in
yeah. So, Sandeep, do you feel like for a lot of people who practice yoga initially, like at a beginner level, their starting point is understanding yoga as an asana practice or a physical practice, and it takes some time or some experience, some years of actually maybe probably getting into the understanding that yoga is beyond physical. It's an esoteric practice that deals with the mind, and physicality is just a medium to reach to that level of dealing with the mind.
no, body is equally important. We cannot ignore the importance of being healthy. definitely it is very, very important element, and that is why Hatha Yoga, you have to start with the practices of Hatha Yoga. But if you really see, if you see the definition of Hatha Yoga, what is Hatha Yoga? It's not a physical practice. It's basically the balance of the two energies that we call the
That's
Ida
true.
and the Pingala. So Hatha Yoga doesn't talk about physicality. It talk about the balance of the two energies, the two energy systems, which is basically in imbalance, right? Either you are overthinking, either you are over thinking in the mental energy if you are an overthinker, or you are just a physical, you are always involved in the physical activity. So there is an imbalance of the energies. And when you balance these two energies, the third force automatically activates, which is the spiritual force or the sushumna. That is the principle of Hatha Yoga. It's not about being slow yoga or yoga with the breath or yoga with the awareness. No, these are all definitions which people have come out with. But if you go to the classical texts, Hatha Yoga is the yoga of balancing of the two energies. So, and then the other elements comes.
Exactly.
But it's a very, very small element in the whole uh, system of
System, yeah,
other
exactly.
branches, other philosophies. But yes,
Very interestingly, Sandeepji, sorry, I'm interrupting you there, but the very interesting instance I can relate to this. So, when I got into wellness about a decade back, and my journey started with, pursuing a course in macrobiotics, which is a modality stemming in from traditional Chinese medicine. So, macrobiotics generally majorly deals with the foods energetics of foods, like the energy side of foods, and the basically understanding the extremes of foods, the specific energies in different foods, exactly how even Ayurveda looks at it, like what specific energies in the foods, what kind of qualities do they carry, and what these qualities do have an impact on your body and the mind. So in macrobiotics, how you look at it is, you consider foods from two extremes, the yin side and the yang side, which is also the philosophy of traditional Chinese medicine. And so when I studied it and I started working on the clients, the idea was to understand, where on the scale do you lie? Do you lie more on the yang side, or do you lie more on the yin side? By understanding you as a person, your emotional traits, your physical traits, your tendencies, and knowing you as a person, and then bringing about balance in your body using foods, which are on the other side of the scale. So if you're more on the yang side, bringing in more of yin factor in your foods, and vice versa. So, and when I got into yoga, the similar modality with a different terminology, with a different understanding, but the underlying concept still being the same, which was the idea of balance. So that's where I realized that you pick up any ancient modality. It's not about physical, it's not about
true.
emotional, it's not about it's about having balance in your life, and that's what these ancient modalities always had a focus on.
And see, if you see all different ancient sciences or the ancient philosophies, they have taken something from each other, but the underlying philosophy is very, very similar. Even in India, if you see the Sankhya philosophy, if you see, or the Tantric philosophy, if you see, or the different, I mean, if you even in the yogic system, there are so many different theories, concepts. It's very, very
Exactly.
interesting. Purush
Very
Prakriti,
interesting.
Shiva
Yes.
Shakti, uh, like, you know, Ida Pingla, all these are talking about similar things, but in different
Exactly.
ways. And to find a balance, that is the whole idea of, I think, yoga
Inner
also.
harmony, I guess that has been the focus. You call it Ayurveda, you call it yoga, or traditional Chinese. Okay,
True.
so Sandeepji, now little I would really want to talk a little about Hatha Yoga. So Hatha Yoga focuses, as a practice, it has a deep focus on cleansing and detoxifying aspects of the body and the mind. So whether you get into the kriyas, or you get into the asana practice or pranayama practice, the idea is to empty out the body, cleanse the body. So what are some common Hatha yoga practices which anybody and everybody can do on a regular basis, um, from the perspective of cleansing, which is the primary goal of Hatha yoga. I mean, from the practice perspective.
So if you really see from the classical point of view, Hatha Yoga actually started with only the Shatkarmas, which are called the cleansing techniques.
Ah, that's
Then
interesting.
later on, yes, then later on, asanas and pranayamas and the other mudras and bandhas were kind of added to the practices of Hatha Yoga. But the classical structure or the beginning of Hatha Yoga started with Shat Karmas. That is, the Shat means the six, and Karmas mean the practices or the techniques. And these are the six classical cleansing techniques that talks about to clean the body or to detox the body from the impurities. And they are basically Neti, Dhoti, Basti, Tratak, Kapalbhati, and Noli. Right. So basically, it has been designed in such a beautiful and scientific way that three of the practices are basically cleansing your system, the nasal passage, that is Neti. Kunjal is basically cleansing the upper digestive tract. Then you clean the intestines, which is the Lagu Prakshalan. So you have cleaned the body from top to bottom because we take so much of junk inside,
Yeah.
right?
So, Sandeepji,
And
sorry, I'm interrupting there, but I have a question there. Like, when you're doing these three practices, and when we are saying that it's detoxifying you completely, does that mean that working on only these three systems can actually have the power of cleansing you? Like, because there are various other organ systems in the body, there are various other body parts in the body, but just working on these three systems ensures that the body is cleansed.
uh, so basically, no. I mean, the whole idea is to see nasal passages are the most important passage through which you breathe. So that is one area that the input of the diseases or the infections or the bacteria happen.
Beginning,
And
yeah,
even if
yeah.
during the COVID time, this was the area where most of the infections were happening. So
True.
this is one area we need to clean. And then the other area that we need to clean is the whole the kapha element, the excess kapha element, which is cleaned by the kunjal practice where you drink water and then you we do it with the saline water, a little lukewarm saline water. We drink 6-7 glasses and throw
Mhm.
out. So it's basically cleans the whole the kapha element, and then you clean the pitta element, which is the laghu pakshalan, which is basically cleansing of the intestine. So it is also very similar to what the Ayurvedic concept of panchkarma is there, which is where you detoxify.
Mhm.
So in any system, the detoxification is the most important element where you release the toxins
Exactly.
first to clean the system first. For any higher health or disease free body, you have to first clean. It's like cleaning of the room, cleaning of the
Yeah, it's like
house.
setting a clean base below before you start to build up on the right
Yes.
foundation.
Then the other three practices of like in the Hatha Yoga are what? Then you have the Noli practice, which is the churning of the abdominal muscles to activate the Manipur chakra, which is the storehouse of the energy. So
Yeah.
you do the churning. Then you have the Kapalbhati practice where you activate, you know, and Kapalbhati is also known as a pranayama also, and it is also known as a shatkarma also, which is very interesting.
Yeah, exactly.
So there you like you forcefully breathe out, and then you are kind of increasing the pranic energy within the body, and then you are clearing the mental the forehead the thought
Yeah.
process, and
So
then you see
Sandeepji,
the last practice. Yeah.
again a question here, sorry. So, with what I understand by what you're talking about is we are directly working with the energies of the body through these kriyas, like whether it be vata, pitta, kapha, you call it that ways, or, different energies from the chakra system, you understand it. So, is it okay for any common person to, just get into these kriyas randomly? I mean, because you are actually somewhere stimulating your energy. So does it have any kind of a positive or negative impact when you just randomly get into it?
See, there are certain practices which are kind of you have to do it under guidance of a experienced yoga teacher.
Mhm.
And there are certain conditions involved. Suppose if you are suffering from a specific disease like a heart condition or a high blood pressure or a ulcer, I think certain practices like Kunjal or Lagushan Pachalan, this will be slightly uh, contraindicated for you. But
Mhm.
there are certain practices which can be done very easily by anybody, but you have to have a guidance from a teacher. Then he will be able to suggest you. I would not recommend doing it through uh, any of the, like, reading the books or just doing it through
I get
the
that. Yeah. I mean,
videos.
the right
No,
approach is important. Yes.
that is not recommended. These practices should be done under, because first you should understand your body, then the teacher will guide you, and that is how it should be taken forward. Because
Exactly.
if you see the yogic text, in every practice it is written that this is the secret science. Why did they write that? It is not a secret science. It's not because it's a secret science. Everything is open. But they wrote it because it should be learned from a teacher. That
Guru.
is why it is
Yeah.
secret. By a guru.
Yeah.
That is why it is said it is a secret science. Everything is available now. Nothing is a secret.
That's true. I mean, yeah, the right techniques and then, handling your energies is something that you really need to learn the right way. So that has been my personal experience also. I mean, just getting randomly into any practices can also, I would not say harm you, but then you can have some unpleasant experiences if you don't know the right approach of doing things.
I would say my experience when I did the Shatkarmas first time, I was very, very fearful. I was full of anxiety. How can I throw out
Mm.
water, drinking 7 glasses of water? My whole like system got very into anxiety.
Weak. I have experienced the same thing. I mean, I'm not able to do the Kunjal Kriya.
And
Yeah.
Kunjal,
So
yeah.
I
And
really,
even
I
the
mean,
neti, some
takes
people are so fearful of doing the neti that how can you put water into your nose?
exactly.
But then when there is a teacher with you and you are confident that okay, he's there to guide you, then you leave your anxieties. And that is very common we
Yeah.
faced in our teaching process with our guests. So it's very common that we tell them that nothing to worry about. We are there to help you. One
Yeah.
important point in this, I would say that these techniques are very simple to learn and then integrate in your daily system. And you should also know how to do it, what should be the frequency, and what is your condition, whether you're doing it for a specific therapeutic purpose, for a disease relief, or you're doing it for general well-being. So accordingly, the duration will vary, the everything will vary accordingly, like, so
Yeah.
I
So
mean
Sandeep ji, yeah, so actually
yeah,
that brings
please.
me to my next question. What is your opinion on yoga, living yoga and Ayurveda as a lifestyle, considering that a lot of people are now getting inclined towards yoga was something that has like for last few years there has been a lot of awareness, and on in Ayurveda way of life also, traditional Ayurveda way of life, people are getting interested into, and I believe at Ananda this is how the approach is, where yoga and Ayurveda is made to live as a lifestyle. So what's your opinion on somebody who just knows about it, who hasn't actually experienced or who doesn't have any deep understanding of what this approach to life is, and when they first come and experience living this way at the place, like what are the kind of experiences that you would like to share on that?
So you have actually brought up a very important point about yoga being the lifestyle or Ayurveda being the lifestyle. Actually, if you believe, or if we, when we tell to people, actually yoga is a lifestyle. I mean, that's what how
Yeah.
the yogis have seen yoga as a lifestyle, not as a practice. To be very
Yeah,
clear about it, it's a complete lifestyle system, and the practices are part of the lifestyle,
that's
right?
true.
So if you see in the olden times when life was more into the countryside or the villages, life was simple and people actually followed the natural rhythms of the life. Eat early, sleep early, uh, eat in time, because the life was slow. Life was much relaxed. So people naturally followed a healthy lifestyle. So we don't have to like, I mean, do anything about it because that
Yeah,
is
you don't
how the
have to
lifestyle.
talk of it as a lifestyle now. I mean, people get being into that rush mode, always sympathetic
But
nervous system always on a high, and so it has to be really now taken. Going back to the basics and explaining people, okay, the previous way of life was the normal way of life. What we are living now is a diseased way of life.
so now, as we have moved to the cities and how the change in the whole structure and the routines have happened, now this is a very challenging for all of us because now the pressure, the responsibilities, the all the challenges and everything is so different. So lifestyle, I would say that there should not be any rigid forms that okay you have to do that because it is written in the books.
Mhm.
No, you should follow a lifestyle which is very very comfortable to you. Have your common sense. You know at what time to eat, what time not to eat. You know when to sleep, when not to sleep. These are very common sense things which I think we have got disconnected with. Now why do we need a Insta live or a YouTube channel to tell us what to do and what not to do? So there is
True.
such a huge disconnect from our basic rhythms of life. So I think somewhere down the line, we have kind of ignored the body, the circadian rhythms, the biological clock, and that is what lifestyle is all about. Waking up early in
Yeah.
time, having your food in time. So that has actually gone for a complete mess. And yoga and Ayurveda has been always talking about these things. They have given a lot of recommendations about what is the right way of eating, what is the right time of waking up, what is the right time of sleep, how much hours of sleep you should have. All these things have been given by experience of the yogis and the Ayurvedic Vads. But
We can say
nowadays in
that
the
yoga and Ayurveda way of life is re-looking at your routine, like how what time you wake up, what time you sleep, and what do you do in between those timings is what Ayurveda and yoga lifestyle is all about. I mean, of course, there are some guidelines to how you should be doing that, but then it starts with looking at your routine every single day.
and the most important thing now, what has happened is just see that just imagine about the food. I mean, sometimes as a child, we always saw that we always got tomatoes in the winter season. We always believed
Yeah.
that tomatoes are available in the winter season. But now we see tomatoes available all year round.
Rather for all the
So,
vegetables and fruits, I mean, everything is available all year round. And for the newer generation, that is what I tell my kids also. I mean, they will never understand what is seasonal and what is not seasonal. I mean, they've seen everything every time.
yeah, so we have modified lot of things through the technology. That's fine. It's available. But then what is happening within our system, which is against the nature, that what time will tell, or what is now we are facing all that because we don't even know what is the right food in the right time, in the right season. We don't know. So
Exactly.
lifestyle is a very, very important element. And I would say uh, four things we need to manage in our lifestyle. And from the yogic perspective, they are also known as the instincts. And they are basically the ahar, nidra, bhay, and maithun, which is also known as the food, the sleep, the fears, and sex. So these are the four instincts that needs to be managed in the lifestyle. And yoga has been very clear about it.
Hmm.
The timing of food, you should have a fixed routine of having your food, not to have in between the meals. Being seasonal,
Sandeep,
keeping
I
the
have a
food
question.
simple.
I have a question here.
Yes.
Like, out of these four factors, three of three of them are still physical oriented. So it's much easier to take control of those. But one of them, which is fears, is something which is more originating from the mind. So on a regular basis, like on day-to-day basis, when we are saying that through yoga and Ayurveda lifestyle, you need to manage all these four factors. How do you actually deal with the fear part of it then?
So fear is mostly like anxiety, right?
Yeah, which is very common. I mean, we don't give a lot of heed to it, but it's. I mean, out
Fear
of
is
rest of
actually
the
anxiety
form, yeah.
or
And most of the
stress.
people don't even realize that they have anxiety.
So as you know how to eat well, as you know how to de-stress yourself, you should also know how to deal with your fears also. And how do you deal with your fears? Yoga has been very clear. Developing of positive qualities within you. When you develop
Yeah.
some positive qualities, when you connect with the positive qualities of life, that is where you are able to deal with the fears, because that nullifies the effect of anxiety and fears.
So are we saying that
Right?
developing a sattvic approach or a sattva element
Sattva,
in your
yes,
entire being, that is the
definite.
way to go.
Sattva is light, sattva is knowledge.
And that's how
So when you
beautifully Ayurveda joins with yoga, right?
true, so you cannot have a, like, all these things are very well connected and everything talks about similar lines but in different ways.
Yeah. Different terminology, different approach, but underlying ground principle is the same in a harmony.
So the four instincts are very important in lifestyle, which is very, very important, and it's common sense also. And
Yeah.
we should know what input we are giving to our mind. That is very important. So much of sensorial involvement we are doing nowadays without even
So
thinking that.
again, a
Yeah,
question, Sandeepji, like with the kind of environment that we live in, which is sensorial in nature, like you're taking in a lot of input through your senses, and with all that exposure with media, with cell phones all the time, kids mingling up with media through different mediums and channels. How actually is it possible to because that's the new lifestyle, that's what kids relate to. I mean, specifically the younger generations, because they've seen that only. So how do you kind of create a sense of detachment at that level, specifically at the kids level?
very difficult. We have to live
I
with it.
think you need
Very
a
difficult.
yoga and Ayurveda retreat. You need, and just so you need to, I think, experience this and gradually. I
It's
mean,
a very, I would say, it's not very difficult, because if I tell you the solution, you will not do it because you are not ready for it.
hmm,
You know the
yeah,
solution, but you are not ready for it, because nowadays children at the age of 14, 15, they want the best of the phones, right? Why do they need
exactly.
a best phones? But the parents are giving, no.
True.
So we cannot stop it, but yes, you have to form a kind of a line, a strict line of what is required and what is not required with your children also. And you have to be strict, and you have to be logical. You have to kind of tell them that no, this is right and this is wrong. But then we have to kind of develop that kind of a understanding and that kind of a relationship with our children, that they have trust on us, but they don't have trust. So we have to
Yeah.
learn how to develop that trust and faith with the children also, to become kind of being able to explain them what is right and wrong. If we
Very
cannot do
interestingly,
that,
Sandeep ji, like lately, I mean, this concept has really started to gain importance where there are a lot of kids yoga retreats happening around, which is I think it's a very good approach where you actually give
yes,
kids an exposure, and because they are in their own company, and it's more of a playful way of
it is.
exposing them to
Yes,
this approach. It's really amazing. I remember like I did my learnings from Shivananda's School of Yoga in Madurai, and when I was there for my program, there was this kids camp going on there, and there was so much of energy because it was being planned in such a playful way where kids did not even realize that they are being exposed to all these traditional modalities. Still, subtly, there was so much learning a lot, and there were some kids who did not also wanted to go back also. I mean, they were so enjoying being in the nature, learning all these modalities, getting exposed to right that approach of yoga and lifestyle that we're talking about. So I guess these are the things that need to be more brought in now, considering in city life it is very difficult. I agree.
Yeah, and very true that the kids should be given an opportunity to at least experience these things at a right time. Not necessary that they will follow or practice, because no, they will not. But at least they will have a taste or an experience.
Exactly.
So as they grow up, uh, they will have that thing as in the back of their mind that yes, they can find their way out. So it's very important to give them the right elements at the right time, which maybe
I
in the
agree that
Western
value
world it
system
is
is
different.
important. Yeah. So coming back to our topic of yoga, Sandeep ji, I again have a very typical question. Like in India, it is more traditional approach that we follow for yoga and Ayurveda, and that I guess that's also one of the reasons many of the Westerners are quite keen on coming and learning yoga and Ayurveda modalities from India. And being in Canada now, I see that a lot of people who really want to uh, get into yoga or even know yoga is more from the physical perspective. It's and they're like endless research on the physical part of yoga, doing some amazing asanas and with all that understanding of anatomy and physiology. But the classical side, the traditional side, is something that they're completely unaware of. So what is that big difference that you see in the classical understanding of yoga and the Western approach to yoga?
See, I would say that there is no classical or there is no Western yoga. Yoga has never differentiated people as Western or Indian or African or European. No, yoga is yoga. I mean, there is no difference in the classical or the Western approach. See, there is a yoga is a very ancient science. It's a very ancient knowledge, right? But
Yeah.
with time, we see that many of the countries in the ancient times, they were actually yoga was practiced, but because of lot of political, social, or many reasons, people actually forgot the knowledge, or the that was suppressed. The knowledge was suppressed because of many reasons. But India was one place where yoga was kind of retained. But even in India, yoga came and went. If you see, when we had a lot of invasion from the externals, people had actually suppressed the knowledge here, the spiritual knowledge here. But there were few groups of people. They were the monks, or they were the people who were the like the renunciates who lived in the forest and who lived in the caves. They actually practiced in a very secret and the silent way. And then when the right time came, the whole knowledge came back to the society,
Exactly. Yes,
right?
last few years have been phenomenal in terms of
Yes.
you know
So it's
yoga
not a
really
new
growing.
knowledge. It's not a new knowledge. It's a very ancient knowledge. But I would say that what you want, you should be very clear of. If you are looking for physicality of yoga, yoga has one element which you can take. If you are looking for the mental well-being, mental concentration, focus, changing your mental behavior, okay, you practice, add on to the yoga, the meditative side. If you want to go beyond that, there are different modalities. So it all depends what you are looking for, and yoga will find you. You start with the physical, no problem, but eventually you will find your way into the right path of yoga.
Exactly.
So
And that actually brings me to my next question, Sandeepji. I think like it integrates with what you just mentioned. So for a lot of people that, and it's my personal experience also, like for people who are really stressed, who look at yoga as an aid to their relief. And now that people talking a lot about meditation and pranayama to directly bring about that, that balance at the emotional level. Like, I do understand, you pick up from the physical side or pick up from the mental side. The idea is to bring in that harmony. But for a lot of people, they would just want to skip the asana part, and because they're looking for that quick solution to their anxieties or mental conditions or emotional conditions, they would immediately get into pranayam and meditation. So when we are saying, so is it okay to pick up any area of this modality and start working on it, or there has to be a right approach to doing things, like targeting physical first and then gradually moving on to the mental and emotional side of these practices? Or anybody can just pick up, say, somebody stressed can directly get into meditation and pranayam without skipping the asana side of it. So how should one look at it?
See, if you are really looking for management of stress, I would say that stress is just not mental only. No, there are different elements which builds up the stress. It could be the stress is at different levels. It is on the physical level, it is on the mental level, it is on the emotional level. That's how yoga looks at stress.
Yeah, and that's
So
very important point, I believe.
yeah, so if you are really looking for management of stress, so there is a branch of yoga which is known as the Raj Yoga system, which actually gives you a step by step progression, which is also known as the 8 limbs of yoga, where you first prepare the body through the asanas, you go into the breath work to manage the pranas, to harmonize the pranas, the energies, and then you go into the meditative side of pratyahar, which is called withdrawal of the senses, then concentration practices, then you move further higher. But the first two elements in this 8 limb is the yamas and niyamas, which nobody talks about. People have really forgotten about yamas and niyamas, which are basically the internal and the external conducts, the codes of conduct, or the way we should behave, the way should we carry ourselves, right? Like being non-aggressive, being truthful, being honest, you know, uh, kind of contentment. All these qualities are required to kind of give a firm foundation for the meditations to happen, because if you directly start meditation, you will go into an imbalance, because you are playing with the mental energy, and it will create lot of imbalance, and you will bring
Personally,
out all the
I'm
negativities, you will bring
I'm
out
not in
all
that
your
question
fears.
because I've experienced that. I mean, when I started, my yoga journey, even before that, I just tried meditation for some of the emotional concerns, and I remember my problems actually were not solved. They were kind of, they increased. I mean, the kind of sensations or the experience that I had. So I had to stop meditation. I stopped doing it.
And that happens because when you sit and try to concentrate, you actually start thinking about your problems more. And then you think
Yeah,
that, my God, I started meditation for stress management, but I become more stressful. And
more
that is
stressed.
very, very
Yeah.
common. So there is a
Yes.
very scientific process. There is a very step by step process. You cannot skip the process. You cannot jump, and that is why we need a proper reference to the scriptures. That is where we need a proper connection with the lineage, tradition of yoga. Otherwise, you are just playing around with the practices, and then you're not actually getting the right benefit of these practices. It's not a shortcut.
Yeah.
It's not a
So how
shortcut.
should the approach be then, Sandeep ji? Like, should it start with the asana practice, gradually moving on to the breath work, pranayama practice, and then moving on to meditation? Should that be the approach?
So I would say, if you really want to have a very starting off or a good practice of yoga, Start with about 45 minutes of give yourself 45 minutes or 1 hour of to this practice if you have that time, or at least 30 minutes to 45 minutes, I would say, because some people might not have 1 hour. Start with 20 minutes of some physical joint opening practices, some forward backward bends. If you are able to do some Surya Namaskar, do 2 rounds, 4 rounds of Surya Namaskar. Keep it simple, I would say. Very basic opening practices you start with. Do 10 minutes of pranayama, which is the alternate nose breathing or the humming bee breath, I would say. 10 minutes of pranayama. If you are having some kind of interest in mantra chanting, I would say I would recommend to integrate a little bit of mantra, maybe Om or Soham, or mantra of any choice. That is up to you. So in these 45 minutes, you can actually design your 20, 10, 10 and a short relaxation.
Okay.
This is enough. Believe me, this is
This is
enough.
powerful. This is powerful because that sets the right foundation, I believe.
And the most important thing is that you should be kind of regular and have faith on your practices. That is the most important thing. We start the practice, we do it for 1 week, 2 weeks, then we disconnect. Something happens.
Yeah.
So the most important thing, because to train the mind, you have to be honest and sincere with your practices and regular. Whatever happens, I will do it. We eat our food, we sleep. So 45 minutes or 30 minutes of yoga practice. Then
So
that gives
Sandeepji,
you
where
that foundation.
yeah, so where that also actually brings me to my next question. Where in all this approach or sequence of practicing do the kriyas fit in, and how important is the morning time for practicing yoga or these kriyas? Like, so I mean, if you really want to, because initially we mentioned that a good yoga base starts with cleansing. So, where do kriyas fit in into that sequence?
So Kriya, when we talk about the cleansing techniques, I would say keep Sunday or one day in a week where you can practice your Kriyas. Maybe the Jal Neti once a week or twice a week, the Kunjal
Or is there
maybe
any
once.
sequence to these kriyas also, performing these kriyas?
Neti and Kunjal can be done once a week, and I would say the intestine cleansing, whenever the seasons are changing, maybe after 2 or 3 months, that is the right time to detox your system completely. So that's how it should be done. But if you have a specific problem or a digestive issue or a constipation, then they can be done more often. That the teacher will decide how much duration you should follow. So along with your daily practice, you can integrate once a week your kriyas. Simple.
Okay. Okay.
There
So,
are
how
many
important?
things that you can do on a different like durations.
Okay. Really. So, Sanjeev, how important is the morning time for the yoga practice or the cleansing practice, especially to get rid of the excess of vata and kapha, that gets accumulated, that is already accumulated, that you need to release, should release in the morning timings, and what kind of impact can it have on body and mind in the long run?
See, morning time is the best time because see when you wake up in the morning, your pranas are in balance. Your mind is relaxed, your body is relaxed, your pranas are in a state of rest. So that is the best time. Now, don't talk about that we have to wake up at the, that what you call the Amrit time, Vela, or what you call that,
That was my
4
next question for yeah.
No, that is not practical for people living in the city life because 4 o'clock
Okay.
waking up is not possible, which is only for people who are living in ashrams or living a yogic retreat. That is okay, but in a normal life, that is not possible, and we should not even try that. Be very common, have your common sense, see what is your lifestyle, your work, your schedules, and accordingly try to reorganize yourself at least morning when you go to your work, spend some 30-40 minutes to do your practices. We spend so much of time in so many other things, but at least 30 minutes should be devoted in the morning. So morning time is the best because your mind and body is rested. Because during the day, everything is in agitated mode. Everything is in a mess,
Yeah,
like agitation. And to calm
exactly.
them
So I
down is very, very
yeah.
challenging.
I mean,
So
I can relate to this, like the kind of ideas that I get in the morning, by the time it's afternoon and sun at its peak, I'm just wondering where are those thoughts gone and why don't I get those thoughts during that time? Why do I get it in the morning itself?
see, very simple. I would suggest that one thing that we should follow, a very simple thing, that when we wake up in the morning, don't start your mobiles. That is a very simple
That is
thing that you
what the
can
world
start.
is doing. Yeah, yeah,
Don't start your mobile. Don't start looking at your emails. Don't start looking at your messages. Don't start looking at the whatever is social media. That is something which is the worst thing that we have done. That can wait, because during the whole day we are texting, we are checking our messages and social medias, which has happened very recently. It was not there 5 years ago or 10 years ago, but now you have to
absolutely.
deal with it. At least in the morning, 1 hour disconnect, do your yogic practices, and then get into that connection with the world. So the whole process of yoga is what? It's not about doing your asanas or pranayamas. That is a very, very small part of yoga. It's all about going within yourself to connect with your own self. But then the foundation and the right approach is very, very important, which I think there is a lot of confusion, there is a lot of uh, wrong information which is going on. So we should at least try to go to the right source of information. That is my suggestion, and
Yeah,
you will see the benefit of these powerful practices in life.
yeah. So, Sandeepji, one more question. We are saying that yoga will give you the best results in the morning. I mean, this practice has a different impact when you're doing it in the morning, but there is equally a focus on some of the yoga practices which can be done at the bedtime. So, should that be okay? I mean, since we are considering that morning is the best time, and if we are doing it in the evening, what kind of impact it can have? Or there are some different practices that you should be doing at the bedtime to relax yourself. What is the ideology behind bedtime
So,
exercises?
so morning time is good for the physical practices, I would say. The asanas, the pranayamas are more suitable in the morning, because then kind of you're starting the day with the right approach and you are activating your system and the pranas, the energies. But in the evening time, the best way to do is do some more of a breath work or meditative or yoga nidra. Those practices are more important, where it kind of calms you down. All the disturbances are actually settled, and you are able to kind of relax yourself. When you go back home, you have a calm mind, you sleep better. So before sleep, little bit of meditation can be integrated, little bit of breath work can be integrated. But I would not recommend physical asanas in the night or in the evenings. They are better to be done in the morning, but if you don't have time, okay, as an exception you can do it, but not as a process.
Okay, great.
Evening is more
Because I
suitable
see,
for,
I mean,
yeah,
a lot of
please.
yoga, a lot of like yoga classes happen during the evening hours, and that question was coming from my personal experience also, because when I used to practice, I used to generally take the evening classes, and these evening classes used to be like something like very intense kind of a practice. So that's why that question popped up, because how safe it is to, or convenient it
your
is
your
to.
sleep will get disturbed, your
I
whole
realize that.
energy will be
Yeah.
so activated. It's like then you will have sleep problems. You will kind of be so activated that you will not be able to sleep, because evening
So
time is not the right time. Yeah,
does that impact the circadian rhythm also?
of course, everything is connected.
So which means then we are getting into more of a mess, because the whole idea is to align the circadian rhythm.
because evenings are more to kind of slow down the system, right? Rather than
Yeah,
activate.
exactly.
And if
Okay.
you are
So
watching, let's say, movies in the night, or if you are too much active on your, so your mind is actually active, so you will have problems sleeping also. And that is the
yeah, that's
reason
fair
why
enough.
we are not able to wake up in the morning. And when we are not able to wake up, we are not able to do our yoga in the morning. So it's a whole
Yes.
chain
Cycle
that you
gets
have to,
changed. Yeah, exactly.
it's a whole chain
So
that you have to break.
exactly. So again, from that chain perspective, the kind of practices that, let's assume that we're doing it in the morning and we're doing it all right. But as the weather changes, as the seasons change, this concept of Ayurveda concept of Ritucharya, kind of comes in. So during those transition times of the seasons, should we also be reconsidering our yoga practice or bringing in some changes into the practice for to align with
Not,
the transition?
not, not so majorly changes, I would say. But yes, there are certain uh, vitalizing heating pranayamas like Kapalbhati and Bhastrika, which should be reduced during the summertime because the
Mhm.
weather is quite hot,
Heat.
and you
Yeah.
you can actually replace them with some cooling pranayamas like Shitli and Shitkari.
Hmm.
And
Okay.
uh, in the winter, the body needs more heat, so you can do more of the heating pranayamas, the vitalizing pranayamas, the Bhastrika and all. You can increase your practices more dynamic practices because the body
Dynamic
can
mode.
take more
Okay.
heat. So the little bit of reorganization is required, not like major changes in the practices. I would not recommend because I see my practice being the same throughout the year. Just little bit of tweaking here and
Shifts
there
here and
happens,
there. Yeah. Okay.
but not majorly, not majorly. Very
Okay.
minor modifications.
Okay. So, Sandeepji, you've headed the yoga department at Ananda for like quite a long time, and you've worked on the programs that are being offered there. So, when you're designing these programs for the guests, because these guests would be from all walks of life, and then Ananda is also integrating the yoga and Ayurveda lifestyle together as a part of its offering. So, what is your ideology behind designing these programs from a very beginner level perspective?
See, I would say at Ananda, they are very clear about what they are offering to our guests. That clarity is very, very important. And they have
Hmm.
stuck to the classical and the traditional approach of Ayurveda, Vedanta, and yoga. That is the most important part of what
Yeah.
we do there. I mean, as I said, the knowledge is so ancient. So we don't have to bring a new yoga there. We don't have to bring a new
Yeah.
Ayurveda there. No.
It's all traditionally
But
done.
yes, how it is traditionally done, that is the right approach. But yes, over the period, lot of new researches are happening because they are doing the research on the same practices, nothing new. The practices are not new. They are the scientific researches are just validating the points which has been
All
very
of that.
thousands of years ago.
Yeah. So, like, how
So
how do you bring all of these elements together in the programs? Like yoga, Ayurveda, and Vedanta is the ground level, philosophy that is being practiced at the place. So, when it comes to practically living the routine on a regular basis, how do these three things come together? I mean,
So see, it's not just about one element. It's a that is the unique part that every program. I mean, a lot of people, all different people from different fields, they have actually given their expert advices, and we have all kind of given our own inputs, and then we have designed it in such a way that the doctors, the chefs, the yoga department, the teachers, the physio, the fitness people, they all bring together a program designed for individual needs. And one very important thing is every individual is very, very unique. First, we have to
yeah,
kind of understand the person rather than starting the journey. First, we have to understand the person. So a lot of time goes into kind of different experts. They meet the guest, They try to understand. The doctors assess them from the Vata Pitta Kapha perspective. The that information goes to the chef. Chef designs the food part. Lot of interaction, lot of information sharing, lot of internal training. All that goes into that, and then the experience of the guest comes. It's a very interesting whole mechanism is very
Yeah,
very
I mean,
interesting and
the approach is
complex,
quite interesting. Yeah. Yeah.
quite complex. And I think each person, right from the check-in to the person cleaning the room, you know, they will also give you some nice tips to the person who is coming, the gardeners, the engineering people, the person who's serving the food. You know, the whole environment is very different. Like everybody does namaskar, like, you know, they smile, they greet you with a namaskar, a very positive environment. So
Or not they.
it's a very integrated and a very unique thing that they have created. It's amazing. We love
It's
to.
amazing. Yeah, I mean, exactly. So, Sandeep ji, my last question is about, the experiences of the guests staying at the place. So, having experienced this, living at Ananda, when they come in, the kind of expectations they come in with the kind of health conditions that they come in with, and when they leave, like, please share some experiences where people have actually, by imbibing yoga and Ayurveda as a lifestyle during their stay, have had some really pleasant experiences at any level, like physical
Yeah.
level, mental, emotional.
See, mostly people who come, all the guests who come there, some have very clear objectives, and they come for a specific program. They are very clear in their mind, so they come for 1 week, 2 week, or 3 week programs. So for them, the experience is very different. They go into a very different journey. Like everything is monitored, right from their morning group sessions, yoga sessions, their evening meditation sessions, Vedanta sessions, their massages, their food. So that is a different journey, and they want to work on a specific objective. But then there could be people coming just for a general well-being or short stay. So for them, they can be part of the group activities. They can pick up some massage. They can choose their food. So for them, the journey is not very strict, not very specific. But if you're coming with an objective, and you tell us that I want to stay with you for a week, 2 week, then the whole journey is being guided for you. And you won't believe, people have had amazing experiences and feedbacks and life changing experiences. I would say we are not there to completely transform you in a week. No, we are just
That
giving you
that is not
tools.
possible. Also, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So you might have a very high expectation, fine, but we give you the tools, we give you the platform, we give you the right information, we give you the right techniques, we give you the right practices, the right food, the right mindset, the right way of lifestyle, and it sets you in that mode,
Mode, yeah,
right?
that's important. Yes.
And then it's your journey. And then we take follow-ups. Once the guest goes away, we have follow-up sessions, we follow up the guest, we keep in touch. So that's how it's very
Nice. I mean,
interesting.
it's very interesting. I guess that's what differentiates, Ananda from a lot of other places. So, Sandeep ji, I'm done from my side. If there is anything else that you would want to add to the conversation for the audience, please feel free to talk about it.
No, I mean, it was great. I mean, it was, I think we have covered so much. I don't even remember what have we talked about, because we covered different aspects, and I think it is already an hour and we can go on
Yeah.
for another hour,
Yeah, this is an
because
endless topic for sure.
it's a very endless topic. But yes, I would say that most of us in this modern time, we are actually struggling at different dimensions. We all are suffering. We are all are struggling with different elements within us. But there is a solution. Definitely, there is a solution, and our yogis, our masters, they have given us the direction. And the purpose of human life is what? Not just to eat, sleep, and enjoy life. It is also to, live a divine life. And that is the whole idea also, because Bihar School of Yoga, Swami Satyananda, he was a disciple of Swami Shivananda. And Swami Shivananda, being a very simple man, he used to give simple instructions. And what was his instructions?
Yeah.
Be good. Simple. Be good. What's so great in being good, but that's so difficult?
So that's what
Purify
I
yourself.
very interestingly like saying to a lot of people, simplicity is complex in today's times.
Simple. Keep things simple. We have complicated life so much. We have made the things so complicated. Keep things simple, and then you will start finding the solutions of life. And purification of the mind is very important as we purify the body also.
That's right. I guess that
And
that's the most important takeaway. You need to spend time observing your mind, making sure you're giving it the right inputs.
that's true. So it was great, I would say. It was a very nice discussion to share the views, and whatever I speak is all coming from my masters, my guru. So I thank them for all the knowledge, and I wish you all the best so that you
Thank you so
all
much, Sandeep ji,
walk the path.
and thank you for bringing in all that knowledge on this platform as well and sharing it with all of us. Thank you so much for being there, Sandeep ji. It was really nice having a really nice, candid
It
conversation
was a
with you.
real,
Thank you
real
so much.
pleasure. Thank you, all the viewers. All the
Thank
best.
you, everyone, for
Namaste.
joining. Thank you. Thank you. Namaste.